The studio lights blazed across the set of The View as the audience settled into their seats, expecting another lively celebrity interview. Nobody in the room imagined they were about to witness one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. The morning had started normally. Joy Behar joked with the crowd during warm-up while the producers rushed around preparing cue cards. The episode's featured guest was Matthew McConaughey, who had arrived to promote his newest film and discuss his recent comments about politics, Hollywood culture, and personal freedom. Backstage, producers already sensed tension. Joy had strongly criticized several celebrities in recent weeks for lecturing everyday Americans, and Matthew had recently gone viral after encouraging people to stop dividing themselves politically. Social media was already buzzing before the cameras even rolled. As the show began, the co-hosts exchanged their usual greetings while the audience applauded enthusiastically. Matthew walked onto the set wearing a calm smile, waving politely before taking his seat. At first, the conversation remained friendly. He spoke about family life, balancing fame with privacy, and his journey through Hollywood. The crowd laughed when Matthew shared a funny story about forgetting an important audition years ago. Even Joy smiled briefly, but the atmosphere changed when the discussion turned toward celebrity, influence, and politics. Joy leaned forward in her chair and asked sharply, "Do you think celebrities should stay out of politics altogether, or only the celebrities you disagree with?" A few audience members gasped softly at the sudden shift in tone. Matthew remained calm. "I think everyone has the right to speak," he answered carefully. "But I also think we've forgotten how to listen to each other without turning every disagreement into a war." The audience applauded lightly. Joy crossed her arms. "That sounds nice," she replied. "But sometimes neutrality helps the loudest and most dangerous voices." The tension instantly became visible across the table. One of the other co-hosts attempted to redirect the conversation, but Joy continued. "So when public figures refuse to take strong sides," she added, "people get hurt. Silence can become part of the problem." Matthew's expression changed slightly. He no longer smiled. "I'm not talking about silence," he said firmly. "I'm talking about respect. We've created a culture where people attack each other before hearing a full sentence." The audience grew quieter. Joy interrupted before he could continue. "Respect goes both ways, Matthew. Some people use unity as a convenient excuse to avoid accountability." The actor paused for several seconds. The silence in the studio became uncomfortable. Finally, Matthew looked directly at Joy and replied, "And some people use outrage because it keeps television ratings high." A loud wave of reaction swept through the audience. Some clapped, others gasped. One camera operator reportedly glanced toward producers for instructions as the atmosphere became chaotic. Joy's face hardened immediately. "Excuse me?" she snapped. Matthew didn't back away. "I'm serious," he continued. "America's exhausted. People are tired of being told they're evil because they think differently." One co-host nervously laughed, trying to ease the tension, but the exchange had already become deeply personal. Joy raised her voice. "Nobody here said people were evil." "You implied it," Matthew answered calmly. The studio audience suddenly split between applause and stunned silence. Producers backstage reportedly began signaling hosts through their earpieces to move toward commercial break. But the conversation spiraled faster than anyone expected. Joy turned toward the audience and threw her hands up dramatically. "This is exactly the problem. Every time someone is challenged, suddenly they claim they're being attacked." Matthew leaned forward. "No, Joy. The problem is that conversations stop becoming conversations the moment someone disagrees with you." The tension became unbearable. Several audience members could be seen, whispering to each other while cameras awkwardly shifted angles to avoid capturing the increasingly hostile expressions around the table. Joy shook her head repeatedly. "I've been doing this long enough to recognize deflection when I hear it." "And I've lived long enough," Matthew replied, "to know when people care more about winning arguments than understanding human beings." The crowd erupted again. At that point, producers finally cut to commercial break earlier than scheduled. As soon as the cameras stopped broadcasting, witnesses claimed the studio became even more chaotic. Crew members rushed onto the stage while producers spoke frantically into headsets. One staff member reportedly tried calming Joy, who appeared visibly furious. Matthew, however, stayed seated quietly, sipping water while audience members whispered excitedly. When the show returned from commercial, viewers immediately sensed something was wrong. Joy's expression remained tense, and the usual upbeat energy had completely disappeared. One co-host attempted to lighten the mood with a joke, but Joy interrupted almost instantly. "You know what?" she said suddenly. "I'm tired of this nonsense." The audience fell silent again. She turned directly toward Matthew. "People come on this show pretending they want respectful dialogue, but what they really want is applause for saying absolutely nothing." Matthew looked stunned but remained composed. "I've answered every question honestly," he responded quietly. Joy pushed her chair backward slightly. "No," she snapped. "You answered like a politician trying not to upset anybody." The room exploded with reactions again. Producers could reportedly be seen waving frantically behind the cameras as the control room struggled to regain order. Matthew finally sighed deeply. "Joy, disagreement doesn't make somebody your enemy." But Joy appeared done with the conversation. She removed her microphone pack while cameras still rolled live. Several audience members gasped loudly as she stood from her chair. "I can't do this today," she declared. The other co-hosts looked completely shocked. One of them reached toward Joy, trying to stop her from leaving, but she shook her head and walked away from the table. The audience erupted into confusion. Some applauded. Others stared silently as crew members rushed near the stage entrance. For several long seconds, nobody spoke. Matthew sat quietly, clearly uncomfortable with what had happened. Finally, another co-host broke the silence with an awkward smile. "Well, this is live television." Nervous laughter spread across the studio. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the confrontation spread across platforms at lightning speed. Hashtags connected to The View and Joy Behar began trending almost immediately. Some viewers praised Joy for passionately defending her beliefs. Others accused her of refusing to tolerate differing opinions. Meanwhile, many people defended Matthew McConaughey for staying calm under pressure. Entertainment reporters quickly labeled the clash one of the most dramatic moments in recent daytime television history. Backstage sources later claimed producers spent hours discussing whether the segment should be removed from future broadcasts. But by then, millions of viewers had already watched the clips online. Late that evening, entertainment shows replayed the confrontation, repeatedly while analysts debated who had won the argument. Yet many viewers focused on something deeper. The explosive clash seemed to reflect the growing tension across society itself, a world where conversations often collapse into anger before understanding can even begin. And somewhere inside a suddenly silent television studio, long after the audience had gone home, crew members quietly cleaned the empty stage where one heated argument had turned an ordinary interview into unforgettable live television history.